Good evening, friends, and thank you very much for being here this evening on what has been a very long day for all of you. There's still some events to go, but it's been a day of intense diplomatic engagement as far as India's diplomatic engagement with the US is concerned. So what we've done is we've got all the people involved in this interaction over the last 4 months here to try and place this in perspective for all of you. I have here with me Foreign Secretary Sujata Singh. On her right is Ambassador Jaishankar, and on his right is Mr. Vinay Quatra, who is Joint Secretary Americas and the points person in the Ministry of External Affairs dealing with the United States. On my left is Mr. Amandeep Singh, who handles our disarmament and international security affairs, and I'm certain several of you may have questions for him. So we've requested him to be here too. What we will do is, I'll request Foreign Secretary to make some opening remarks, following which the floor will be open for any questions you have. So with those initial remarks, I'll request Foreign Secretary to make her opening remarks, and I'll come back for the interactive element thereafter. Foreign Secretary.
Thank you, Akbar. Friends, you would all know by now that this is a historic visit that underlines our deepening strategic partnership and a qualitative reinvigoration of ties in what has been described as one of the defining partnerships of the 21st century. In the interest of time, I will touch only a few broad points. There have been significant and substantive outcomes on the strategic, civil nuclear, defense, energy, and economic sides. I will go straight to the civil nuclear side, where we have broken the logjam of the past few years. You would recall that during the Prime Minister's visit to the US in September 2014, the two leaders reaffirmed their commitment to implement fully the US-India Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement and established a contact group on advancing the implementation of civil nuclear energy cooperation in order to realize early their shared goal of delivering electricity from US-built nuclear power plants in India. Based on 3 rounds of discussions in the contact group, we have reached an understanding on 2 outstanding issues, namely civil nuclear liability and the administrative arrangements for implementing our 123 agreement. Let me underline, we have reached an understanding. The deal is done. Both these understandings are squarely within our law, our international legal obligations, and our practice. Insofar as liability is concerned, during the contact group meetings, the Indian side presented our position concerning the compatibility of the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act and the Convention on Supplementary Compensation for Nuclear Damage, which we have signed, and responded to questions from the US members concerning this position. The idea of the India Nuclear Insurance Pool as part of the overall risk management scheme for liability was also presented to the US side. Based on the presentations by the Indian side and the discussions thereon, there is a general bilateral understanding that our law is compatible with the CSC. Many of you would be aware that we had not yet finalized the administrative arrangements for the 123 agreement, which we signed in September 2008. We have finalized it now. The administrative arrangements text that we have agreed with the US conforms to our bilateral legal arrangements as well as our practice on IAEA safeguards. On the issue of export controls too, we have made progress. The two leaders have committed to work jointly towards the goal of India's phased entry into the nuclear suppliers group, the missile technology control regime, the Australia Group, and the Wassenaar arrangement. We are grateful that President Obama supports an early decision on India's membership in all 4 regimes, which will strengthen global non-proliferation and export controls. On defense and security, we have finalized a defense framework agreement for the next 10 years. Under the Defense Technology and Trade Initiative, DTTI, 4 projects have been agreed on as Pathfinder projects. 1, next generation Raven mini UAVs. 2, roll-on, roll-off kits for C-130s. 3, mobile electric hybrid power source. 4, uniform integrated protection ensemble, increment 2. We have also agreed on a working group to explore aircraft carrier technology, sharing and design, and also development of jet engine technology. In the field of energy, we have agreed to expand our partnership on clean energy research, development, manufacturing, and deployment. There are several aspects to this, but I would highlight one. President Obama has expressed American interest in participating in India's ambitious 100 gigawatt solar energy program. Finally, in the economic field, both sides will resume discussion on a high standard bilateral investment treaty and the Totalization agreement. 3 MOUs have been signed between the USTDA and the state governments of Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh to support the development of smart cities in Visakhapatnam, Allahabad, and Ajmer. India and the US are also collaborating on the Digital India program. Thus, as you can see, there have been significant and substantive outcomes, some of which I have outlined to you. I will now hand the floor back to Akbar for questions and answers.
Right. So we begin the interaction. What we will do is we will take each rubric that the Foreign Secretary has outlined. There are 5 she has, so that it can be a focused interaction. So anyone can raise their hand, and then we will take on that rubric all the questions, and following which we will move to the next rubric. We have about 20 minutes because all of us have to go to the next event. So let's start with, yes, sir. Yes, just hold on. Yes.
Uni Krishnan from Bloomberg News. On the nuclear deal, simple words, what's been achieved?
In simple words, what's been achieved on the nuclear deal? Yes. Avandeep.
The answer is very simple. As the Foreign Secretary said, we have a deal. We have reached an understanding on civil nuclear liability and finalized the text of the administrative arrangements to implement the 123 agreement.
Yes, sir. On civil nuclear. Nidhi, let's finish all those and then we'll go to.
Ma'am, what are the assurances that were given on the liability front, particularly the American concerns on Section 46? And also, is there any kind of memorandum that the Attorney General would have to give to the Americans, because it's something that the White House briefing has just indicated?
Not just Section 46, but Section 17 of the law has been discussed with the US side in the contact group. And the presentations we've given to the US side clarify and underline that these 2 sections are in conformity with the CSC. Now, you mentioned about the memorandum. That is work in progress.
Mr. Venkat Narayan?
I want to know if the Americans have accepted the same kind of arrangement we have with the French and the Canadians. Thanks.
There is no administrative arrangement that we require with France. We have an administrative arrangement with Canada, and that has been the template for finalizing our administrative arrangement with the US.
Dr. Akhilesh Samad?
There was a tracking clause that America was raising, that they will track whatever nuclear things are going to us. So what is the development on us? And is there any insurance cap in that?
One question always.
The first question.
Yes, first question, right.
The text we have agreed with the US conforms to our bilateral legal agreements with the US, which are 2, the 123 agreement and the arrangements and procedures on reprocessing. The text also conforms to India's practice of IEA safeguards. So that is the current practice of safeguards in India.
Manish?
You spoke about the idea of insurance pool to address the liability issue. Could you spell out the specific? What is this insurance pool? And what has been, because there has been speculation all along, that what has been agreed to in today's meeting?
The insurance pool, or what would be called the India Nuclear Insurance Pool, is a risk transfer mechanism which is being formed by GICRE and 4 other public sector undertakings in the general insurance business in India. These companies would together contribute rupees 750 crores to the pool, and the balance capacity would be contributed by the government on a tapering basis. This is the general shape of the pool. It is similar to 26 such international pools around the world. The details, for example, of the premiums are being worked out, and the United States has committed to work with India to share information and best practices on the formation of this insurance pool. The important thing for you to note is that this is a complete risk management solution for both operators and suppliers without causing undue financial burden. Thank you.
We will take 2 more questions on this rubric and then move to the other. Yes, Suhasini?
Given that the 2 companies that have already are already supposed to set up those first nuclear reactors in India are tied up with Japanese companies, are these deals really going to have to wait? Are they going to have to wait for the Indo-Japan civil nuclear deal to be completed before we complete ours? And are we going to ratify the CSC now?
Let me take your second question first. We've signed the CSC and we are committed to ratify the convention. On your first question about the supply chain situation with regard to Westinghouse and GE, there are alternatives available, and we do not think that the absence of an agreement with Japan is an obstacle to taking forward civil nuclear cooperation with the United States.
Pallav, yes, this is the last question on civil nuke, then we'll move to other issues. Yes.
Pallav Bagla from the Science Magazine and NDTV. Question to Sujata Singh. The Americans have been crying that they didn't get a level playing field. So have you been able to give them a level playing field in civil nuclear cooperation today? And here onwards, it would really depend if their companies are able to sell you reactors at a price which is comparable to other reactors? Techno-economic cooperation is the way forward?
We've always had a level playing field. I don't see what the issue is over here. I'll ask Amandeep to elaborate on that if he wishes.
On the techno-commercial aspects, that is something for our companies to see. And these reactor projects have to be viable in terms of both capital cost and per unit energy cost, and that is something that our companies will work out. But the other 2 hurdles, as the Foreign Secretary mentioned, the policy hurdles, we have cleared them today.
Yes, sir.
I'm Prasannan from the Week. Foreign Secretary, you mentioned about the jet engine technology, participation in the jet engine technology. Is it going to be the existing program that we have, the Kaveri engine program, or is it going to be a new one that going to be identified?
I'm going to request our ambassador to take that question.
You know, we've had a discussion under DTTI, and we've agreed to explore the development of jet engines in India. So it's much broader than the Kaveri program, which is of a much longer standing.
Yeah.
As you have identified 4 defense projects, can you tell us what would be the arrangement for these development and production? Would it be a joint venture, a 50-50 partnership, or what would be the work share of India in it?
Of the 4 defense projects, all 4 involve joint development and joint production. 2 of these are with American companies. 2 of them are with US government. Now, they have to work out the modalities because they've just had a DTTI working group meeting a few days before the visit. But what look, the purpose of DTTI is to identify a technology and which is unique and which is viable to produce. So if it meets those characteristics, then you go forward. So what they've done is, using those two parameters, they have picked these four, and they're called Pathfinder projects because the experiences of this will guide us on how we take this forward. So all of them involve joint development and joint production.
Anyone else on defense related? No, one by one we'll handle. Anyone else on defense? No. Yeah, we will give you a chance. Wait on. Let's finish the defense. Defense? Yes, please. Sure. Just hold on.
Ma'am, can you tell us what is the exact difference between the last 10 years of defense and trade initiatives agreement which we had, which Pranab Mukherjee, when he was defense minister, did it, and what you are doing now? What are the exact differences, major differences, and how it will work?
No, there's some confusion here. What was done 10 years ago was a defense framework agreement. A defense framework agreement deals with all aspects of our defense cooperation. That framework agreement was expiring this year. What we have done is we have negotiated a new defense framework agreement for the next 10 years. We, as of now, until it is signed, of course it will be made public when it is signed. The defense DTTI is an initiative which is within the defense framework. So there is no precedent to DTTI. It's a new initiative. It was announced a few years ago, but it's really become operational now. So the big change is that we have taken that big step towards operationalizing an initiative, and in this case of specifically identifying projects and agreeing on important areas where we would have working groups to explore potentialities.
Yes, sir.
सर, मैं नीरज राजपूत हूँ, एबीपी न्यूज से हूँ। मेरा सवाल ये है कि क्या अमेरिका की तरफ से लॉजिस्टिक सपोर्ट एग्रीमेंट के ऊपर बात हुई है? अगर हुई है तो भारत की तरफ से क्या रिएक्शन है उस पर? यानी मिलिट्री बेस इस्तेमाल करने के लिए।
बात हुई है माने इस विजिट पे या no, there has been no discussion on this visit because the visit, President Obama's visit, took note of the fact that we have finalized the defense framework agreement. There was appreciation of the fact that the Defense Trade and Technology Initiative had progressed, had identified specific projects, had agreed to create working groups. So that was the focus of discussion. There was no talk of logistic support agreement.
Yes, we move to another topic. Yes, Vishal?
Sir, we saw the rapport between the leaders today. So did the breakthrough happen because of the Chai Pe Charcha? I mean, my point is, how much of a role did the political leadership play in crossing this impasse?
I'd say the political leadership played a key role. I think it was under very specific political direction that we set out to find a solution to the concerns that were expressed. And this is why we have arrived and made progress at all the substantive outcomes that you see. There was a clear intention to reinvigorate the relationship and take it forward.
Yes, sir.
जी, मेरा सवाल फॉरेन सेक्रेटरी से है। मैडम, ये जो पूरी बातचीत हुई है, टेररिज्म को लेकर के कोई स्पेसिफिक बातचीत हुई है, खासतौर पर पाकिस्तान के परिप्रेक्ष्य में, चूंकि अभी कुछ दिन पहले ये बात आई थी कि चेतावनी दी है पाकिस्तान को अमेरिका की और चेतावनी दी गई है, तो क्या कोई स्पेसिफिक बात हुई है, कोई एक अरेंजमेंट डिस्कस किया गया है जमात उद दावा के सिलसिले में, या कोई और स्पेसिफिक चीज आप बता सकें?
You know, as one of our most important strategic partners, we always discuss the entire range of issues of concern. And I can confirm to you that the issue of terrorism was very much discussed and was addressed at some length by both the leaders.
Raman?
मैम, अमेरिका से पहले कितने देशों के साथ हॉटलाइन पे संपर्क है अभी?
देखिए, ये जो हॉटलाइन का मैकेनिज्म है लीडर लेवल पे, तो ये पहली बार हम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन लोअर लेवल पे फॉरेन सेक्रेटरी और उनके जो पाकिस्तानी काउंटर पार्ट हैं उनका है, और DGMOs हैं उनका भी हॉटलाइन है, तो उस लेवल पे है, बट इस तरह से लीडर लेवल पे ये पहली बार हुआ है.
We were talking about what he said was at the level of the president and the prime minister. There are other mechanisms at different levels, like for example, foreign secretaries between India and Pakistan, India and China at different levels. So there are, but what he indicated was that at the level that he indicated, that was first. Yes, ma'am. Tripti?
The execution of a Japanese hostage about which the visiting president has expressed concern has raised very serious and very legitimate concerns about our own 39 Indian nationals who have been held in captivity for a while. And the last I heard was when the External Affairs Minister made a statement on the floor of the House saying that we are making every effort to trace them alive and bring them back home safe. What is the status of our search into this?
You will appreciate that I will not go into details on a very sensitive subject at this point of time. The status remains precisely the same. That is, we are involved in looking out for them and in bringing them back safe and alive.
Geeta?
Ma'am, this is regarding terror. We heard the President and the Prime Minister speak about security cooperation, but in terms of Pakistan and terror, safe havens in Pakistan, was that really discussed? No mention of Pakistan in the statements made by the two leaders.
You will find in the joint press conference of the two leaders that there has been a very specific reference to terrorism. And then I would also direct your attention to the joint statement, which you probably haven't seen till now, which lists out in great detail the various terror groups.
Hello, ma'am. My question is for you. I'm Suchetna from ET Now. Were there any discussions on the visa curbs and also the fears that Indian companies have about the immigration bill?
I can confirm that the Prime Minister raised this issue with President Obama. He pointed out that you have hundreds of thousands of Indians who are working in the United States and who are looking at visas and immigration reform, and that these concerns should be addressed. He did raise it. Yes, please, let the ambassador add to this.
The issue of totalization was also discussed because that's also deriving from visas. So both the impact of visa hurdles and obstacles to business as well as totalization, both are discussed. They were both discussed in some detail.
Yes, Naz?
Actually, I want to know what were the specific U.S. concerns that were addressed in this understanding reached on nuclear.
We will come back in the end if there is time for that. But let's finish all the other issues. Yes, ma'am. We are focused now after defense. If you want energy and economic, we'll come back to that. Yes.
Ma'am, apart from nuclear, was the issue of import of LNG taken up and imports from Iran, were that also discussed?
Let me repeat that, when leaders of two nations meet, especially from countries such as India and the United States, which are strategic partners, all issues of regional concern and of mutual interest are discussed. And this would include also the issues that you have mentioned.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Indrani Basu. I'm the news editor of Huffington Post India. Is there any discussion on what will be India's role in Afghanistan?
The situation in Afghanistan was discussed, and the fact that India has a very real interest in what is happening over there and in this particular period of transition. And India and the United States agreed to work closely together in seeing how further to support the Afghan economy and our interests in having a stable and peaceful Afghanistan.
Yeah, last three questions. Yes, sir.
I'm Chetan from Hindustan Times. On the solar mission, US had concerns about a domestic content requirement in the national solar mission. Has it been addressed?
What was discussed was that there was very clear U.S. interest in participating in the 100 gigawatt solar program. It's obviously up to the U.S. to participate in a manner in which it's consistent with their outlook. The feeling was that the ground situation permitted the U.S. to participate in these programs. So when you will see the joint statement, there are fairly positive paragraphs at the prospect of the U.S. Participating in the solar program, also on the possibility of U.S. financing the parts of the solar program.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's related to that question. You said the President expressed his interest in partnering in the 100 GW program. Was there a specific commitment for either technology or financing, or just an interest in partnering?
There was the joint statement, again you will see, will address the issue of both partnering, collaborating, financing, but it doesn't go down to specifics for this reason. At the moment, these are broad goals. There's a broad mission. Ultimately, when money is committed, for example, if you see in September, we had a very specific commitment between Exim Bank and IREDA. So it was an Exim Bank IREDA agreement for so much money. So we are not at a point where specific projects have come up for approval, but there was very clear, strong interest on the part of the U.S. It was clearly seen as something both in the context of clean energy, climate change, that they should be supportive of this.
Mr. Prasad?
Ma'am, Foreign Secretary, we heard President talk of a new vision for Asia Pacific, and also the Prime Minister mentioning of the importance of the region for both countries. How does one interpret in the context of the rebalancing that US is talking about, and where does that put this thing in?
I think that the documents have not yet been released, and when you read them, you'll see that it sets out a joint strategic vision for the Asia Pacific and the Indian Ocean region. And basically, it talks about the various aspects in which India and the United States can collaborate and cooperate in promoting regional development, in promoting connectivity, and in working together for the benefit of the people of the region. And one very important aspect of this vision statement is the fact that the United States has welcomed India's interest in joining APEC.
Yes, Kalol?
Ma'am, the US President used the Hyderabad House venue today to send a message to India's very strong partner, Russia. He named President Putin to deliver that message on Ukraine. How do you perceive it? Because an Indian venue was used to send that kind of a message. It's now headlines world over.
Well, you're talking about a question that was posed by an American correspondent to the American president. So he answered. You are aware of our strategic partnership with Russia, and that remains.
Yeah, last question. No, just hold on. We'll come back to that. Anyone else who hasn't asked before? Yes.